were adversarial and they were competitive. That was the fundamental kind of where they landed, I guess, at the end of their administration when it came to their framing on China. We're going to take them on. We can't afford to work with them on anything. We're going to use all the rhetoric we have to make them.
美记者，我就是要抹黑中国。
It was also a lunch, and it was usually a fairly earnest affair. The incoming journalist would be informed of the relevant rules of regulations which attended his accreditation. And then, in my case at least, and that of several other colleagues that I knew, he would be given a warning. And that was, always remember that whatever you write about China, it will not have the smallest effect on how our country develops. In my case, the veracity of this statement was borne out by.
He's forgetting every last one of us. Americans don't say, I alone can fix it. We say, we'll fix it together. And yes, where love trumps hate. That's the country we're fighting for. That's the future we're working toward. And so, my friends, it is with humility, determination, and boundless confidence in America's promise that I accept your nomination.
Getting smarter. What do I mean by that? What I actually mean is that the education of Chinese people is getting better. Before I go into it a little more, let's just rewind 40 years. Back in 1978, the then leader Deng Xiaoping introduced some reforms to kickstart the Chinese economy. Back in those days, the economy, the GDP of the economy was around $150 billion. After those reforms, for the first few years it ticked along, rising a little bit, and then sort of in 2004, 2005 it started to take off massively. For many of the years after that it was growing at double digits, as much as 14-15% in some years. And that's a massive achievement. Today the Chinese economy is well over $13 trillion.
I think Russian people cannot work that fast as Chinese people can.
We like that the Chinese take care of their subways. You guys have a very nice subway system in Shanghai. Public transport is super nice. The subways are really clean. And in the US, the metros aren't nearly as clean. The Chinese society, the thing I admire the most is the sense of family and respect for people who are older than you, or etc. I think especially in Western cultures, from where I'm from, for example in the UK, the idea of having respect for elders kind of going out the window.
Cities are pretty well organized. The city itself, the train system was pretty well organized. Public transport was well organized. So it was impressive and surprising.
Yeah, every time I come.
现在国外特别流行学中文，我们在德国路上遇到的当地人，直接用中文给我们指路。他们上中学就学中文了。朋友们，我确实希望我过去开的玩笑不是玩笑，但是德国和别的西方国家一样，学中文的人远远不够，太少了。这确实是影响了大家互相的交流和理解。反正乐乐这一辈子都是在做中西文化交流的事情，现在可以通过这些短视频和这么多朋友就交流，这是很有意义的事情。
Lately about China, they're in Africa. They're lending money to countries to build ports and different infrastructure.
To build what?
Port.
And what's wrong with that?
And well, because
countries that need ports get ports.
But they're making people dependent on. I mean, I know it's the same thing that we've done, which is
no, it's
horrible
not.
Around the world.
They are far more humanistic than the United States ever was.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So.
Let me give you an example. Of course, they are peddling for influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are non-interventionist. absolutely non-interventionist in a way that Europeans, the West, has never managed to fathom. The Chinese never asked Apple to go to Shenzhen and produce all the iPhones. It was Steve Jobs that decided that. Yeah? Mm-hmm. It was not China that went to Washington, D.C. and demanded that they buy a third of your national debt. If they hadn't bought it, you would be in serious.
There's a few reasons for that. I think Chinese is just really interesting, and I decided I wanted to learn it. When I was little, I used to read lots of books about China, and I thought the history was really interesting, and I just thought it was really beautiful. Am I still in China? I don't have a specific reason. I'm enjoying my life here, and I think China has a lot of opportunities, and I have some friends that I made here, and I don't quite want to leave them yet.
With China. I mean, China is the longest continuously existing polity in the world. Going back, well, arguably, it's one of the first, one of the first settled with the Fertile Crescent, the first settled agriculture in the world. So China has a very, very long history, and maybe instead of people being surprised about China's rise now, this is the wrong way of looking at it. What we should be surprised about, maybe, is not the period since 1978, but what the hell went wrong between 1800 and 1949. Because for the most of the rest of the thousands of years of Chinese history, it was arguably one of, and often the most advanced country in the world. So you could say it is a return.
The United States is not a party to the UNCLOS. Isn't that correct?
So we have conducted freedom of navigations. Yeah. So for the...
Seems to me that you have just decided that that they're excessive because under the terms of a treaty to which you're not a party.
So they have asserted requirements for vessels transiting, and it is inconsistent with international law of the sea. The U.S. operation, our freedom of navigation challenges that as these signatories. So
But you didn't. But you ignored them. Basically, this ship just barged in without.
Consistent with international
law. Yeah. But I mean, you didn't notify.
Welcome to China. Learn the language. Ni hao ma, xie xie ni. The Chinese ain't to be fucked with. One Bruce Lee would fuck up this whole room. 1.6 billion Bruce Lees? Nigga, leave him alone. Oh, America know who to attack. You ain't never seen him go fuck with China. Eating the shit out of him on national television with a bamboo motherfucker. Did America go and attack? Nope. You know what they said? What is he doing over there? Somebody get his parents on the phone. That Bruce Lee was a bad mother. 5'7", 140 pounds. You understand me? That motherfucker in the movie, you seen that motherfucker, he walk in the dojo. 300 motherfuckers. Bruce walk in. We can fight one at a time. All together.
China has allowed 500,000 of their citizens to die from COVID-19, which is 20% of the world total. Talk about not giving a shit about your own people. At least a third of those deaths are due to the fact that China does not guarantee their people health care, which is a barbaric, medieval, disastrous I'm sorry. That's the United States. Our government is our government is the one that's killed 500,000 of our people and doesn't give everyone health care. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. How about you raise your question in Chinese?
That's true. Patriotism and national pride are on the rise. You know, for the first time, people in China feel proud to be Chinese. So why does all of this matter? I think it matters because we in the U.S. are in danger of falling behind and not even realizing it as China races into the future. Instead of pointing fingers and instead of trying to keep China down, which won't work anyway. I think we need to focus on how to make America more competitive, how to drive innovation. I just fear that if we delude ourselves about our superiority, then we may end up in a position.
我的印象是，我就觉得大家可能都是骑自行车，然后因为我记得我有一次看了一个新闻，然后大家都是穿那个蓝色的衣服，大家都是骑自行车，我还以为我到了中国就会这样。
50、60年代的那个
，50、60也有70年。
对中国的印象，真的是这10年发生了很大的改变。因为当时我来中国，当时我告诉我爸，我在大学的时候学中文，我爸非常反对。他说中国是发展中国家，他说你学就是对不起哈大家哈，他说中国是发展中国家，你学这个语言没有用处。然后我记得当时我告诉了我美国那边的朋友要去中国，他们说小心，很危险。
大家老姜，好几年没看到你，我说对，然后你在哪生活？我在中国生活。
中国在哪里？
中国是吗？啊好，再喝一杯。就这样的，知道吗？
对。
但是现在我回去，他们说你在中国生活，
完全很有面子。
哇，你那边可以挣钱嘛。
China. We lost 2 generations. China has built 500 entire cities from huge population from poverty to the middle class, cornered the market in 5G. Anywhere in the world these days, you better have a yen for travel. China alone, they have 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. America has none. Our fastest train is the tram that goes around the zoo in this impacted colon of a country. China sees a problem and they fix it. They build a dam. We debate what to rename it. That's why their airports look like this and ours look like this. 2 bus lines through environmental review. In Boston, took 16 years, a 7-story skyscraper in 19 days. The San Yuan Bridge in Beijing in 43 hours. We binge watch, they binge build. We're not losing to China.
To this, and that we're going to have to. COVID-19 is too convenient an excuse for a generation of people to just punt. We don't do this. We are Americans. In the Spanish flu, 17, 18, 19, 19, 17, 18, much death. Do you know that there was not one mention of it by the President of the United States at the time, Woodrow Wilson? Never talked about it. There was no national policy to deal with it. There was no shutdown. There was just, hey, go outside, get some fresh air, stand in the sun as long as you can, get some vitamin D, feel better. But there was no woe is us. It was just the next in a long line of things that happened to people.